tell me something. Do you really like getting up at this hour?
What do you mean this hour? It's 10 o'clock.
Well, 3 cheers. Most actresses like to sleep in the mornings.
I'm sorry if I kept you waiting, Betty.
Well, I could go home.
No, I want you to stay.
Thanks. That's what I wanted to hear. Oh, say, before I forget, someone told me about a wonderful Italian restaurant just around the corner from here. Well, you do break for lunch, don't you?
Yeah.
A courthouse is a temporary place, tenanted by strangers every day from 10 to 5, filled by the ghosts of 1,000 memories in the empty hours between.
You're not coming in?
I'll be with you in a little while.
All right, I'll save you a seat.
This is a place of weights and measures, of balance and counterbalance, of prosecution and defense, of judge and jury, of guilt and innocence, of accuser and accused.
Brought you some coffee.
Oh, thanks.
I feel scared. I keep telling myself it's part of the nightmare, that I can destroy it with a pill. Some guy I don't know shot 2 other people I don't know. And it was me, and it wasn't me. And it was me, and it wasn't me. Now you're caught up in it.
I can't get out of it, Creely. And I can't lie. When I go up on that witness stand, I'm going to have to say the words that may kill you.
You'd be killing a stranger, not me. A stranger. It's not hard to kill a stranger.
Detective Adam Flynn, our 1030 witness.
Everybody rise. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. The county court, the county of New York, is now in session. Judge Arvis P. Henley presiding. You may be seated. Case of the people of the state of New York versus Joseph Creely.
Joseph Creely will approach the bench.
Do you know where you are?
Yes, Your Honor.
You understand the nature of the charge against you?
Yes. First-degree murder.
Do you have any memory of the crime of which you are accused?
No, Your Honor.
You understand that this is a retrial of your case based on new evidence submitted to the court?
Yes, I do.
Do you believe you are mentally competent to stand trial?
Yes, Your Honor. I seem to be.
Are you aware of the plea your attorney has entered for you?
Not guilty. Reason of insanity.
You may return to your seat.
I'd only like to say this, Your Honor. If I did what they said I did, I want to take what's coming to me. I want you to punish me.
We have every intention of doing justice here, Mr. Creely.
Mr. Flint, would you tell the court what you were doing on the night of February 27th, 1961, between the hours of 7 and 7:15 p.m.?
I was driving to the precinct. At 7:15, I received a radio call instructing me to go to 313 Lexington Avenue. As I arrived there, a man armed with a pistol came running out of the building. He was being pursued by another man and a woman. Suddenly, he began firing wildly. He killed a man and he wounded a woman. Then I put him under custody.
Is that man in this courtroom?
Yes.
Would you point him out?
The man at the end of the table.
Let the record show the witness has indicated the defendant. Thank you, officer. Your witness, counselor.
Mr. Flint, would you describe the behavior of the defendant at the time he shot Mr. Millis?
He was shooting wildly, yelling incoherently. Almost as if he didn't know what he was doing.
Objection! Witness is stating an opinion and a conclusion of law.
Objection sustained. Detective Flint, as the arresting officer of the law, you are permitted under the rules of evidence to state the facts as you saw them, but you may not draw conclusions.
Was there anything in the demeanor of the defendant that you would consider abnormal?
Objection! Your Honor, the question is leading, and the use of the word abnormal is misleading. Shooting an unarmed man is hardly a normal activity.
Objection sustained. Counsel will refrain from asking witness extraordinary questions.
As an officer of the law, have you had contact with other criminals under circumstances similar to the one in which you first encountered Joseph Creely?
Yes.
And compared to them, would you say that the behavior of the defendant was unusual?
Objection!
Overruled. You may answer the question.
He was out of control. Almost as if he had been drunk or drugged.
When you took him in, was he found to be under the influence of liquor or narcotics?
No, he wasn't.
Were you present at the defendant's first trial?
Yes.
And were you present when he was convicted and sentenced?
Yes.
And then did you have subsequent contact with the defendant?
I never expected to. But I did. It was August 10th of this year. I was assigned to meet a train at the 125th Street station.
What was the reason for the assignment, Mr. Flint?
The warden had communicated with my superior officer requesting us to meet the train. It seems that 3 days before, in his prison cell, he was found on the floor unconscious after what was first thought to be an epileptic seizure. He was examined in the prison hospital and was found in need of special treatment. I was ordered to escort him to Bellevue Hospital.
Tell us, Mr. Flint, was he in a coma when you delivered him?
He passed out for a few moments in the ambulance, then came to again. He seemed aware of what was going on most of the time.
you mind?
You the doctor in charge?
Joseph Creely?
Yes.
Can you speak?
Yes.
Try to move your left arm. Make a fist. The skull films, which had been taken at the prison hospital, indicate a probable mass in the parietal area of the brain. We'll need angiograms, air studies. The works I'll be in next week.
Doctor, next week.
Do you have a reason to stay here?
Yes, doctor, this man is in my custody.
Better sedate him. We strike him as funny, hmm?
Doctor. Do you know why he's laughing?
I probably lack a sense of humor.
He's scheduled to die in the electric chair a week from tomorrow.
You'll have to build an electric bed. He'll be in a coma.
For how long?
Now look, Mr. Detective, it will take a week of tests before I can make a thorough diagnosis. At the end of which time, if it proves to be what I think it is, we'll operate. And after that, it will take from 3 to 6 weeks before the patient is ambulatory.
Well, that takes care of next week, if the state agrees.
We'll need permission to operate. Is there a wife?
No, doctor, he's divorced.
A mother, father, some close relative?
Nobody.
Just you.
I guess so.
Then we'll have to go to the man himself.
Mr. Creely, the doctor here wants permission to operate on you.
What if I don't want to give the doctor permission to operate on me?
Now, that's up to you. You'll have to make up your own mind.
Well, I don't have a mind. I'm a ward of the state.
You have the right to say whether or not you want to submit yourself for an operation.
Why?
Why not?
Why should I have an operation?
For medical reasons?
Medical reasons are what make you tick, Doctor, not me.
In consideration of your health.
I may laugh again. With respect to the day and the hour and the minute of my death, the judge was more precise than you are, Doctor.
Yes. Yes, you have a right to that information. If you have what I think you have, and if you let us operate, you may very possibly die on the table. If you don't die, you may very possibly be a partial cripple for the rest of your life.
What if I decide to lie here and do nothing?
Then you'll die more slowly. No less surely, just more slowly.
I can't figure this. I want help. I need help. Please help me. Please help me. Help me.
And did you help him, Mr. Flynn?
He offered me his power of attorney.
Did you accept it?
Yes.
And as his attorney, in fact, did you authorize his operation?
Yes.
Was it a hard decision to make?
Yes.
But you made it.
Yes.
Why did you decide for his operation?
Because I believe life is precious. Every hour of it. And I thought what I'd want if I were in his place. Time. And that's what the operation gave him. Time.
Then you believe that while there is life, there is hope.
We're sitting here, aren't we?
Strumenti d'arco, strumenti corda, strumenti di luna. It's Italian, the names of the orchestral sections. Good.
Pretty words.
Pretty words, eh? All right. Let's see. I leave to children exclusively, but only for the term of their childhood, all and every the flowers of the field.
What's that?
It's a little book I picked up on 3rd Avenue. There's a poem in this book. Last will and testament of Charles Lunsbury. And the blossoms of the woods, with the right to play among them freely, according to the customs of children, warning them at the same time against the thistles and the thorns. And I devise to children the banks of the brooks and the golden sands beneath the waters thereof, and the odors of the willows that dip therein, and the white clouds that float high over the great trees. And I leave the children the long, long days to be merry in 1,000 ways, and the night and the moon and the train of the Milky Way to wonder at. But subject, nevertheless, to the nights here and after, given to lovers. Do you know why I like you so much? Because you care so much about other people.
I'm afraid sometimes I don't think very straight. I see too many sides at the same time.
That's part of what I like about you.
Everything is gray. Everything is gray.
Everything is gray. Everything is gray.
How are you feeling?
Strange. Very strange. I feel as if I have a hole in my memory. Like a gray, soft pit. Are you a friend?
I brought you here. I'm a police officer.
Oh, that was friendly.
What's the last thing you can remember before you came here?
Well, I remember driving a truck on the road to Providence. Yes. Then the fog came. Maybe you can help me blow it away.
Have they told you where you are now?
Yes, I'm in a hospital. I've just had an operation, and I'm doing as well as can be expected. I own the truck. I'm married. I can't remember what my wife's face looks like. But I'm married.
Is that all?
Yes.
You just left out the last 10 years of your life.
That much? Could you get me a mirror?
Just a minute.
I just wanted to see what I looked like at 46. You sure I won't be able to remember anything of the past 10 years?
According to the doctors, you probably won't.
It's a prison, isn't it?
It's a prison ward of Bellevue Hospital. You see, Mr. Creely, about 11 months ago, a small jewelry store was held up on Lexington Avenue. The proprietor was shot and killed. His wife was shot and crippled for life. You fired the gun.
Now, you wouldn't just be saying a thing like that, would you?
No.
For some outside reason.
No.
No. It's funny, you come in here and you tell me a crazy thing like that. It's as if you're talking about some other person. And it doesn't touch me. I'm trying to make it touch me, but it doesn't. Without memory, you can't have a conscience. Without a conscience, how can you feel guilty?
Darling, listen. To lovers, I devise their imaginary world with whatever they may need. As the stars of the sky, the red roses by the wall, the bloom of the hawthorn, the sweet strains of music, and aught else that they may desire, to figure to each other the lastingness and beauty of their love.
Then you would say that after the operation, the demeanor of the defendant, Joseph Creely, had changed.
Yes. He was quiet and gentle.
Objection. Witness's opinion about the post-operative condition of the defendant is irrelevant.
I tell you, he was changed.
Objection.
Witness will confine himself to direct answers. I don't want to warn you again, Mr. Flint.
Detective Flint, when you arrested Joseph Creely, at the moment of the arrest, when you stood before him, gun in hand, Joseph Creely before you, the two victims of his now empty gun a few yards from where you stood, how did you feel?
I had to arrest him.
You are under oath. You may not be evasive. How did you feel?
I hated him.
Do you still feel that way?
No.
Objection. Detective Flint's feelings for the defendant at this time are not in point.
Your Honor, I'm merely trying to show that this man's feelings for the defendant have changed because the defendant has changed.
Your Honor, this is one of the major questions that remains unresolved at this time. In my opinion, the defense counsel must make his point in this matter. I don't feel the court or the state can let the question go by on stipulation.
I'm going to restrain that line of question, Counselor.
No more questions.
You may step down.
Mrs. Ida Millis, please. State's witness, Mrs. Ida Millis.
You may remain seated if you wish.
No.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name.
Ida Millis.
Have you ever seen the defendant before, Mrs. Millis?
Yes. He's the man who shot me.
Where do you live, Mrs. Millis?
At the Borough Hospital.
Where is your place of residence?
That is my place of residence. That will be my place of residence for the rest of my life.
Dr. Wirtz, would you explain the significance of these x-rays to the jury?
These x-rays are called pneumoencephalographs. The brain has within it a set of hollow chambers called ventricles. By filling these with air, deductions can be made about the shape of the brain and whether or not a tumor or other lesion is present. They are made by performing a spinal tap and allowing air to rise up into the brain from below.
Who's that woman sitting over there?
The lower group of pictures
She was your wife.
These are made by injecting dyes into the arteries.
Do I have any children?
We then take
No.
X-ray motion pictures of the progress of the dye through the brain.
What do the x-rays show in this case, Doctor?
A mass in the occipital parietal area of the brain.
Your Honor, we
She
propose
used
to
to
have
be his
these
wife.
x-rays admitted to evidence as Defense Exhibit C.
Now, Doctor, in your opinion, was Joseph Creely sane immediately before this operation?
Sanity is a relative term. He was certainly affected emotionally and psychologically by intracranial pressure.
Well, Doctor, in your opinion, could the tumor have had an effect on his behavior during or prior to the commission of his crime?
In my opinion, it would have had a considerable effect on him.
Now, are there any post-operative effects other than amnesia, Doctor?
Yes. Loss of initiative, apathy, some motor damage. Patients suffering from this type of amnesia tend to let the world come to them. They do not go to
I imagine she feels that she's
Then,
failed him.
in your opinion, Joseph
That isn't
Creely
very
is,
rational.
in effect, a
You
new
get all the
personality
rationality you
in
want
his
from an
present
adding
state.
machine.
Shh. I want to hear this.
He is a combination of what he was at 25 with the added effects of neural damage due to his operation. I would call him a new personality.
I feel sad for him.
Your witness, Counselor.
Why?
Because she knew how to feel about him. And now, seeing him like this, she doesn't know how to feel.
Dr. Wirtz, you have stated that in your opinion, Creely was ill at the time he committed his crime.
Yes, I have.
Is it correct to state that you have no means of proving that statement?
In neurosurgical problems of this kind, the best we can give is an educated guess. But we do know the nature of the tumor that was removed from Joseph Creely's head. And we believe, from its type and from his medical history, that it must have been present for several years before the operation. And we know that it could and probably did affect him physiologically and psychologically at that time.
But you have no positive proof of these statements.
In dealing with the human brain, there are very few positive proofs.
I don't want her on the stand.
We need her on the stand. She's an important witness.
You've got enough important witnesses. Leave her out of this. What good will it do you to rip into her life? He wants to put my ex-wife on the stand.
Yes?
They'll tear her apart. I don't want to see her go through it. She has nothing to do with me anymore.
Mr. Creely, when they operated on you, they had to open up your head. Now, you went through a lot of pain, both before and after. What makes you think this operation is any different? This man is conducting your defense. You have to let him do his job.
I don't know. When you're guilty and you don't know what you've done, you keep thinking the guilt spreads and touches everybody you ever knew. All right. Go ahead.
Mrs. Creely, where did you meet your husband?
Well, I was a secretary for a trucking firm. He came to work there. Well, we went out together and made plans.
What sort of plans?
Well, he wanted me to marry him, and he wanted a truck of his own. I don't know which he wanted the most.
Would you describe the first years of your marriage as relatively happy ones?
Yes, they were. They were filled with, well, little things. Good things, mostly. He was good to me.
And how would you describe the latter years?
Miserable, hateful, desperate for me.
Was the defendant under any kind of medical or psychiatric care at this time?
No, he was not.
Was there anything in his actions that made you think that he was sick?
Objection. Witness has not been proved competent in a medical area.
Your Honor, a wife has a certain sense of her husband's well-being.
Overruled. You may reply to the question.
I don't know if he was sick. Our marriage was sick. I filed for divorce.
Thank you. Your witness, Counselor?
No question.
You may step down.
Good luck.
Thank you.
When I was dean of St. Felix High School, Joseph Creely spent 4 years there. It was a small school. I knew him. I knew most of the students.
Do you remember the particular occasion when you first met the defendant?
Yes. It was the day after Halloween. It seems that he and several other young men, in an excess of good spirits, saw fit to place my car on the roof of the gymnasium.
Was he a particularly good student?
Perhaps a little better than the average. He was an honest, straightforward boy.
Was there anything in these characteristics which would lead you to believe him capable of the crime of which he's accused?
We're all capable of violence, Mr. Ferland. Me, you, everyone. Gentleness is a learned adjustment to the trials of life. Joseph Creely left our school a rounded Christian gentleman. It's incredible to me that a man could change so. If you had asked me to select the 10 boys I felt would have made the best citizens, he would have been one of them.
Let's go get some air, huh? Your hair looks nice.
Thanks. I thought it looked terrible.
Looks very nice.
I guess I look nice whenever you need me to look nice.
I need you.
Life is very complex, isn't it?
You know, it's ironic. I deal with guilt every day. And yet it's been years since I've asked myself what it really is. What the nature of guilt is. And now out of this case, I'm pretty shaken. What is guilt, honey? What is it?
I have watched this defendant throughout this case. I've seen the suffering and the pain it has caused him. I too have felt a little of that pain, because I too am touched by the plight of this defendant. Notwithstanding my feelings in this matter, my duty is to the law, to the upholding of the law. Now, we have seen the defense make its attempt to prove that Joseph Creely was not sane at the time he committed his crime. We've seen that they were unable to prove it. Why? Because this was no insane crime of passion, not even a sudden wild decision committed in the heat of anger. This was a felony murder, an act that could not have been done if the defendant had not previously prepared for it. The gun that killed Mr. Millis, and that shot the bullet that has made life a continuous hell for Mrs. Millis, was loaded by the defendant in advance of the crime. It was taken to the scene of the crime by the defendant. If Joseph Creely was so ignorant of right and wrong that he was not aware of the consequences of his actions, why did he try to escape? The fact that he killed only one person in the commission of his crime is pure chance. He certainly tried to kill others. He shot at and tried to kill the policeman who apprehended him. Now, my learned colleague, Mr. Farrelly, has attempted all through this case to obscure the issue by repeatedly pointing out that Joseph Creely is now a different man. Every man is different every day. The sum of his experiences that day, added to the sum of the experiences of his total life before, necessarily changes him. Now, there have been other men who have committed crimes for which they have not been apprehended for many years. During this time, they have led a blameless life, and yet it did not wipe out the crime. Even if, in fact, Joseph Creely is now a different man, that's not the heart of the matter. Nor would we deceive ourselves that what is being discussed here is the institution of capital punishment. It doesn't make any difference if Joseph Creely's punishment is 6 weeks in the city jail, or the electric chair, or hanging upside down over a slow fire. Whatever punishment society decides is the right punishment for a man who is proved guilty of the crime for which we're trying Joseph Creely. Whatever punishment that is, neither more nor less, that is what Joseph Creely will receive if you find him guilty. Now, we are here to try Joseph Creely for what he did do, for the commission of a reckless and heartless murder in the act of committing a felony. You can return no other verdict than guilty of murder in the first degree.
You've heard the evidence against Joseph Creely. You've even seen the policeman who arrested him identify the defendant as Joseph Creely. There would seem to be no question that the man on trial is the man who committed the crime of murder. There is a question, though, because, in a sense, that Joseph Creely who killed Mr. Millis is another Joseph Creely than the one sitting in this courtroom today. Not just changed by human experience, another man. This one sitting here has no memory whatsoever of the crime of which he's accused. This man has only horror and repugnance for the crime of murder. Even the district attorney admits this. Who is this man sitting here? The priest at the parochial school where he was educated remembers him well as a boy, speaks well of him. His wife, remembering the early days of their marriage, speaks well of him. It is only after a certain period in time that we begin to see a pattern of behavior which is antisocial and criminal. This point in time coincides with the point in time at which a tumor began to grow inside Joseph Creely's head. And as it grew, it created pressures within his skull. And as it grew, it changed the shape, the nature of his personality. And as it grew, there came into being another Joseph Creely, a criminal. And he committed murder, and he was sentenced to the electric chair. And then the tumor was discovered. And the tumor was cut out. And with that, there emerged again Joseph Creely, an ordinary, decent, responsible citizen. According to every humane principle, a new man. Because if it was possible for him to change so much merely by cutting out the tumor, then we must say that the tumor, this tumor, was the criminal. And we must say that the criminal was excised by the surgeon's knife. And then we must say that the man who sits here is a good man. Now again, we all know that even the most monstrous criminal is capable of some goodness. Perhaps he has some affection for a pet or for another human being. Perhaps he is capable of some act of charity. Haven't we often said, in the case of such a monstrous criminal, if only we could execute that which is bad and keep that which is good? And here we have our chance. This man sitting here is a new slate in a sense. The past 10 years of his life have not even been written upon that slate. To convict him of a crime he does not remember and could not commit today is the utmost cruelty. To waste a potentially good citizen is stupidity beyond belief. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when you are sitting in the jury room trying to determine whether or not Joseph Creely is guilty, I ask you to remember that you don't know whether Joseph Creely is the man who existed before the operation or whether he is the man in the courtroom with you now. I ask you to ask yourselves, which is Joseph Creely?
There are no precedents in this case. Therefore, my charge will be brief. You are expected to use your good sense. And in the light of your knowledge the natural tendencies and propensities of human beings. Resolve the facts according to deliberate and cautious judgment. Remember that the defendant is entitled to any reasonable doubt that may remain in your mind. Remember as well that should no such doubt remain, the state is entitled to a verdict. Remember that the killing of a human being, unless it is excusable or justifiable, is murder in the first degree when committed by a person engaged in the commission of a robbery. And last, you must remember that according to the law of the state of New York, a person is excused from criminal liability upon proof that at the time of committing the alleged criminal act, he was laboring under such a defect of reason as not to know the nature and quality of the act he was performing. Jury will retire.
Good luck.
You know something? If I was sitting on that jury, I would know what to do about me.
That's the wonder of it. You put those 12 men and women together and they'll come up with an honest answer.
Well, I trust them. If things were different, I think we would have been friends.
We are friends. Good luck.
How long will the jury take?
Could be an hour, could be a week.
Will they let us know?
Yeah.
What do you do if you're on a jury and they ask you if a man is guilty? I mean, do they... Excuse me. I mean, do they nod their head or say yes? I mean, how do they do it?
They write it on a piece of paper.
I think if I had to do that, all my life would be bounded by the day that I had to write on that piece of paper.
You'd do it if you had to. We're all responsible for each other. Unfortunately, judging and being judged is part of that responsibility.
Darling, buy me a flower, will you? This one. Thank you. I like to wear your flower.
There are 8 million stories in the naked city. This has been one of them.
This has been a Screen Gems film presentation from Columbia Pictures, produced by Herbert B. Leonard.